What's up, guys? Vlog number 11. I'm back. You know where I'm at. Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. And Saturday night, gonna play a little 2-5. Haven't checked the list yet, but definitely gonna probably be a 2-5 game. No tables are available and the 5-10's open. We'll always jump into that, you know. Bigger buy-in, but more reward. I've been thinking what I can add to the vlog, guys. I want to do something different. I want to add like a little wrinkle to it. So I'm thinking of doing kind of a bankroll challenge thing. It's kind of lofty what I'm thinking, and it'll definitely take a long time, but I think it'll be a journey that'll be good for, you know, for me and for you guys to follow along as I, you know, go on this journey. So I was thinking, start with today's buy-in. Let's build it up 6 figures. Yes, I'm not going 10,000, I'm not going 50,000. Let's build it up to 6 figures. See how long this takes, you know, see over how many sessions. And yeah, man, I hope you guys, you know, keep commenting down below, because, you know, it helps me analyze hands after I've gone through them and improve and get better. So hopefully, you know, I keep running good. Definitely, you know, with today being the first day of this challenge, I want to continue to run good as I've been running good for the vlog, you know. So yeah, man, gonna look soon to get on that list for that 2-5, and I'll check back with you guys in a little bit. Wish me luck. So I ended up putting my name on the 2-5 list, and I believe I'm 5th or 6th now on the 2-5 list, waiting list. So a lot of tables running. They got at least 10, 11 tables of 2-5 running. There's only 2 5-10 tables, so I'm gonna hop in the 2-5 when they call me and see how it goes. Right now, this is my chip stack of choice, 700. I'm gonna buy in for 700. You know, most players at these 2-5 tables, not very many buy in for the max. The max is usually 1,000, and you know, some of them buy in for 300, 400. So with 700, I think I'm at a comfortable amount to cover pretty much everybody at the table. We're gonna see how it goes. It's a Saturday night, you know, the drinks are flowing, you know, tourists are in town. There's a concert here. I think Chris Tucker is in town, performing in the Hard Rock venue here. So, you know, some of those people come in after, you know, wanna try to dabble at poker, take their chance, and we're here hopefully to capitalize on that. So I'll check out you guys in a bit, and just gonna wait here and see what happens. Hopefully I win a lot. One of the first hands of the session, I pick up Ace Jack of Spades in late position. A player in middle position bets 20, and it comes around to me, and this is a spot where, you know, I just started playing the session, and I don't really have much information on my players, so it's kind of a feel out in the beginning whenever you start a session. That's a good way to start your sessions. I think you should always, you know, feel out the table, see if it's an aggressive table, tight table, and adjust your play accordingly. So with this hand, it's a pretty strong hand, but since I don't have much information, I'm just going to make the call of 20. Player in the cutoff calls and the big blind calls. The flop comes, and it's 10, 8, 8. 2 spades. So we flop the nut flush draw. Pretty good flop. The big blind checks, the middle position player checks, and it's on us. And the pot's close to $90, $100, so I throw out a bet of $40 here. I can take it down here if nobody connected with the board, and if I do get called, you know, I still have outs, obviously. And ace, if I hit an ace or jack, I could also be good. So I put out a bet of 40. The player who was in the cutoff folds, the big blind folds, and the original raiser before the flop, he makes it all in $180. So I think about the board. I think, you know, he could have a 10. It's possible he has an 8. I don't know why he would shove all in, but, you know, he is short stacked, so maybe he's thinking I won't fold, and I go ahead and make the call. The turn comes, not a very good card, a 10, so if he did have a 10, now he has a boat. The river comes and we brick. We don't hit the spade. It's the queen of hearts. And he's very reluctant to turn it over. So I'm thinking possibly, you know, he missed his flush draw and we're good. So I just turn over him, you know, my ace jack of spades. After a while, he wasn't turning his cards over. And he reluctantly turned over his full house. He had an 8. He flopped trips and then boated up on the turn. And, you know, we missed, but I think it's a spot where, you know, it's an easy call. We're never folding for his stack size. And unfortunately, we didn't hit the card we needed. We didn't get that old spade, but, you know. So, didn't start off the session great, but let's see if we can recover. I just want to share some information about this table. This is probably one of the craziest tables that I've ever played in, particularly because of 2 players. They had this battle going on, and I'm just going to go over one hand really fast just to show you the amount of craziness that was on this table. So, a guy makes a bet of $35 pre-flop. This other player that I was mentioning makes it $135 to go. The original bettor 4 bets to $1,200 all in. The other player snap calls. You're thinking aces versus kings, right? I'll tell you what happened now. And the player that called the all in had about $900 or $1,000 as well. So they both had decent stacks. The board runs queen, 8, 6, 5, 4. I expect to turn over monster hands, high pairs, minimum ace king, ace jack, and ace 10. The guy 4-bet with ace jack when there wasn't even $200 in the pot for $1,000. The other guy with ace 10 called $1,000 all in with ace 10. This is the table you want to be at. Unfortunately, I couldn't get involved in any hands with these players. They had another hand, same scenario, $2,000 pot. One guy had king 10, one guy had ace queen. They went all in pre-flop. Same scenario, a little raise, a higher raise, a 4-bet for like 900 more, and the guy with king 10 won. And it was just insane. I don't even know what to say. That was just crazy seeing this at a 2-5 table. It's like they were just going all in just for fun. Like, man, what a situation to be in if I could have got hands against those players. I mean, ace king would have been the easiest call against those players, like not even a doubt. So in this next hand, I straddle on the button with pocket 8s. So obviously I didn't know I had pocket 8s, but when I straddled, I had you know, the snowman pocket 8s. So a player in early position calls a straddle, a player in middle position calls a straddle, and then it's on me, and I bump it up to $45. You know, trying to thin out the field. You know, I have a mid pair. Want to go heads up or just take it down right there, and the big blind calls and a middle position player calls. The flop comes 9, 6, 6 rainbow. Big blind checks. The middle position player bets $65. Now, a little bit of information about this player. They've been splashing around a lot of pots. They've been caught bluffing a couple times. So when it gets back to me, I start going over the hands he could have. He could have a 9 definitely. He could have a 7-8 and be open-ended. He could have pure air. A lot of players like to bluff when there's a paired board like that, you know, because it is a scary proposition for other players, because then you get in your head and you're like, oh man, what if he has that 6, he has trips, and I really have to hit my gin card just to catch up. So against this particular player type, I'm definitely going to call once and see what the turn brings. And so I decide to make the call. The big blind folds and we're going heads up to the turn. The turn comes and it's the jack of diamonds. That puts 2 diamonds out on the board now. And the the middle position player decides to slow down and checks. So this is an odd play because he bet the flop, and if he had any strength, I think he would bet the turn. He could have a 9 and have checked, but either way, you know, I'm happy seeing the river, so I decide to just also check back. The river comes and it's a 7. And at this point, he thinks for a little while, and he puts out a bet of $85. And I start going over the hand, and I start thinking, and I think I'm getting the right price to call. His check on the turn makes me feel like maybe he was just ace high or a straight draw. He could have had 7-8 and hit a 7 on the river. You know, I throw in the call because based on his player type and the way the hand played out, I just don't think he has much. So I make the call, and he instantly mucks, and our 8s are good. So we win that hand, It's been kind of a rough night, we haven't been getting many cards, but we scooped that pot at least. In this next hand, the player in middle position puts out a bet of 20, and I'm next stacked, and I look down and I have King Jack offsuit. I make the call, and the button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind calls. So we're going 5-handed to a flop. So a lot of players going to the flop. Let's see what develops. The flop comes Queen 10-3 Rainbow. So we flop an open-ended to Broadway, and let's see, the small blind checks, the big blind checks. The player who had opened to 20 pre-flop, he makes it 45 to go. In this spot, there's really 2 ways you can play this hand. You're never folding. There's merit to raising here and trying to put pressure on the guy who bet pre-flop. There's also nothing wrong with calling. I think in this spot, actually, with an over and an open-ended, it's actually a good spot to put in a raise, to something like 120 and put the pressure on. I decide just to make the call at this point. There's other players behind, and I just want to see the turn and see what happens. The dealer decides to fold, the small blind folds, and the big blind folds, so probably I should have been 3-betting, this bet on the flop, but I decide to just make the call. The turn comes, and it's an insignificant 5, and he leads out. He puts a bet of $85. Now, he's bet the flop and bet the turn, so now I'm starting to think, what hands could he have? He definitely could have a hand like ace-queen. I don't think he has sets in this range. There was no flush on the flop, so he bet out. I think a check, if he would have flopped a set, would have been, the ideal play there. Although it was 5-handed, so betting out sets isn't a bad play at all. But he puts out a bet of 85, and I just decide to make the call as we're still open-ended, for the nut straight. So the river comes, and it's a difficult card. It's the king, so I end up getting top pair on this board. This player seems like a competent player, but he's made some plays that aren't necessarily, too high-level thinking. I've seen some leaks. But he bets out 165, and this puts us in a really difficult spot because, he's 3-barreled here. I've seen him try some bluffs, so it's kind of tough. I think we're getting the right price to call based on the pot. At this point, the pot is close to 400 something, and he bets like 165, so I gotta call 165 to win almost 600. Not sure the exact amount of the pot at this point. Have a general idea. So when I really start to think about it now, in retrospect, there's a lot of hands he could have that do beat us. He could have ace-king. He could have 2-pair. We could be chopping with king-jack. Is it worth a call to chop when, I'm beating basically just flopped queens at this point. But I'm getting a good price, so let me know down below what you think you would have done in this hand. I debated for a while. I was really close to mucking, but I decided to make the call. And he turns over king-queen. So he flopped the queen, and he rivered 2-pair. It was tough. I really debated folding, but I ended up making the call. It's probably not a good call. I'm not beating much, and yeah, we lose that hand, and played a couple more hands, and then it's just out, you know, after a couple more hands, and it was definitely a tough session. So I just finished my 2-5 cash game session. Not good news to report. It has happened. I told you in previous vlogs it would happen. The run good ended, and we had our first losing session of the vlog. It's alright. Down 275 for the night. You know, it was bound to happen. Kind of stinks it happened when I decided to start this challenge that I mentioned earlier in the vlog. So we stay at 0, and we're still gonna grind to get to 100K. It's all good, man. It's all good. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Comment down below. And thanks to you guys, you know, you're the reason I do this. You know, the feedback, the comments, the analyzing. You know, you guys are the reason why, you know, I continue to do these vlogs, and hope you guys enjoyed this one. And to the next poker vlog coming to YouTube near you. Peace out.